Hey, what's going on, guys? How's everybody doing? So this week has really been a Xiao oriented week. On Monday, I put out my Xiao character guide. On Wednesday, we had a Xiao team guide, and today we're going to be going a little bit deeper into Xiao's weapons. So in the Monday video, I did talk a little bit about what some of Xiao's best weapons were. However, I didn't really go into the finer details about how much better some of his weapons are than others and why certain weapons are better than others, or even his artifact sets for that matter. So in this video, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be taking a deep dive into all the numbers. I'm going to be showing you guys exactly why certain weapons are better than others, and really a hierarchy of what his best weapons are. So stick around, we're going to be getting into those numbers. But before we do, hopefully you guys can help me out beating that raid boss that is the YouTube algorithm. Let me know down in the comment section below, who is your favorite main DPS to play? I have a feeling that you already know who mine is, but I want to know who yours is. So let me know down in the comment section below. Now, with that out of the way, let's jump right into the video. First up, I want to take a look at artifact sets, just to see if there's anything we're missing. Though I think at this point, the consensus is that 2-piece Gladiator's Finale and 2-piece Viridescent Veneer are Xiao's best sets. The numbers you're seeing on screen now represent the average DPS you can expect given the parameters that I've selected, which I've listed at the bottom of this graph. Just in case there's any confusion moving forward about why I chose Refinement 3 for my calculations for all future weapon calcs, some weapons are much easier to refine up to level 5 than others. So as a middle ground, I decided to go with the average of all refinements, which ends up being Refinement 3, so that's the reason for that. Looking at our chart, starting with what we know to be good, being 2-piece Glad and 2-piece Veneer, we can see that there are a few categories that it gets beaten in. 4-piece Thunder Soother beats it out for skill damage, Blizzard Strayer beats it out in burst damage, assuming that you're hitting frozen enemies, and every set beats it out in terms of auto attack damage. Now, that all being said, I don't think that the auto attack damage is something we should lean heavily on. The goal is to activate Xiao's burst as much as possible, in which case we should be using Xiao's auto attack a smaller percentage of the time, and when his burst is activated, we can see that the auto attack pulls ahead of both Heart of Depth and Thunder Soother. Now, I think in terms of damage, we can safely take Retracing Bolide off the list for damage reasons. If you're looking for a bit more tankiness, it may be good, but it just doesn't compete with the other sets in terms of damage. Same with Heart of Depth. Not that I would actually recommend this set, it was just a fun thought experiment to look at. Now, I think you could make an argument for Thunder Soother and Blizzard Strayer, though in general, I don't like how conditional both these sets are, given that the hero they would be on can't actually set up their passives in any way. That being said, heroes like C6 Fischl or Ganyu and Sing Cho are very powerful and capable of setting up these conditions. So if you had one of these sets lying around, it could be fun to use, but it harshly restricts your team building options. They're also much easier to farm than Gladiator pieces, so take that also into consideration. Looking at the final two sets though, those involving Gladiator's Finale, since the only category that the 4-piece set actually wins is in the auto attack category, and we've already established that that won't be our primary focus in combat, it looks like 2-piece Gladiator's Finale and 2-piece Viridescent Veneer is in fact the overall best set when it comes to damage, flexibility, and acquirability. Moving on to the table for weapons. First off, we have the weapons ranked in terms of damage based on Xiao's plunge attacks while he's using his burst. We won't be taking a look specifically at his skill because in terms of scaling, it'll have the same results as his plunge, but without the added damage from his burst. I've used the same parameters as the last DPS test. This time though, we're utilizing the set that we've determined to be the overall most effective. You'll also see that I've included 2 weapons that have not been released yet as of the recording of this video. While not having been released yet, they will be in the next week or so, and I figured I'd go ahead and include them, but do keep in mind that after release, their numbers could be adjusted slightly, though unless there are major changes, it shouldn't disrupt the ordering in any major way. Also, when taking passives and stacks into consideration, all of these weapons are at the absolute max they can facilitate to see what our ideal numbers could be on an average refinement. So in first place we have the Primordial Jade-Winged Spear, followed by the Staff of Homa, Vortex Vanquisher, Lithic Spear with a full team from Liyue, Royal Spear, Blackcliff Pole, Deathmatch, Lithic Spear with Xiao being the only character from Liyue, Skyward Spine, Prototype Star Glitter, Favonius Lance, Crescent Pike, and finally White Tassel. I don't think anyone will be surprised at the top 3 weapons. However, seeing Skyward Spine as low as it is does initially seem odd, though when you think about it, because it doesn't have the damage boosting substat and a passive that only has a slight boost to Xiao's burst, it's not really that much of a shock in terms of raw damage. That being said, because it can help us get to our burst faster, it might actually provide more damage than it looks like. Also keep in mind that with the numbers I've calculated with, I do have our crit damage set fairly low for a more endgame build, only accounting for a crit damage circlet. So with more crit damage investment, the crit rate weapons on this list will increase in damage substantially because of the higher rate of critical hits. So the Jade Spear and Deathmatch will both lead the pack even further and most definitely jump at least Blackcliff Pole. I also chose to look at Lithic Spear at both peak performance and minimum performance because I don't think that max stacks is realistic. After looking at Xiao's potential teammates, even just to get another Anemo hero on the team, it drops you down to 3 stacks since he's the only Anemo hero from Liyue. So while you could potentially build around the Lithic weapons, I thought it best to show the range of his new line of weapons since we don't have a proper gauge on it just yet. Moving on to looking at just his auto attacks though, it should also come as no surprise that Crescent Pike leads the pack and it's not even particularly close. Also, we should notice that Skyward Spine has jumped up a few ranks, but it still falls short behind the weapons that are strictly damage focused. Of note, that Staff of Homa is in the top 3 of both categories we've looked at, so keep that in mind when the new banner comes around. Other than that though, the only real shakeup we have is that White Tassel jumped up 4 slots because we're now taking advantage of its passive ability. So having looked now at both aspects of Xiao's damage, we have to find a way to combine these two lists, and I've decided to simply rank all the weapons from 1 to 13 based on their placement, add the numbers from the two lists together, and their final numbers will determine their placement. Super scientific, I know. I've also weighted the burst a bit since these numbers are overall much more important as to what weapons are better. So these will be labeled between 3 and 15 instead. And here is the final order of what I accurately and scientifically present beyond a shadow of a doubt the best weapons for Xiao. And in a completely scientific approach, I'm going to bump Skyward Spine up 1 slot because we weren't really able to account for the extra damage over time, being able to reach the full burst gauge faster. And because remember, science. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much a definitive list of Xiao's best weapons, or at least his conceivable weapons. Now, keep in mind that there are some caveats to this list. Of course, these are simulated numbers. These are not actual combat numbers, so take that into consideration. It's also not considering, a refinement 1 weapon versus a refinement 5 weapon. For that, you're gonna have to take your own build and do the calculations yourself. But in general, this is where I would start with and then go from there. But that's gonna do it for me today, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy and it will help you guys in choosing that best weapon for your Xiao. If you like the content and want to see more from me, you can head over to my Twitch page, twitch.tv/xjazz, or you can subscribe right here on YouTube by clicking that red subscribe button, like the video if you liked it, and click that notification bell. That way you never miss a video. And if you want to join our community over on Discord, link is down in the description as always. But guys, that's all I got for today. Hopefully you did enjoy, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.